All right,
Okay, so for whatever we're posting this thing, I stole a Dargyn, right? One of these, um, by of course sniping the driver and then letting it fall. Uh, of which normally is the way that you steal a Dargyn. But hosts migrated, and the Dargyn automatically landed itself, and the driver fell out of it. So I just went over, picked up the Dargyn, right? I flew up to the sky, to the limit of, well, yeah, the sky limit. But you can go a little bit past it, it'll just eject you downwards. But I went all the way up there so I have a safe spot so I can press plus and access my chat. Because somebody was in my party. And then the Dargyn just disappeared. And here we are. My collision is absolutely non-existent. And if you want to see something really cool, would you look at that?
Try and find that little city we found under the map.
Oh yeah, we found. So looking at the map from the other side of it and looking at caves is really cool and all, but just come with a journey on me real quick to what lies below. It'll take a little while of menu resetting, but
I'll just pause.
The thing is, even /unstuck didn't fix this, because before I got into this weird spot, when the Dargyn disappeared, I was stuck in the skybox. I unstuck to return to ground. I started walking and I fell into it. And then I realized I can sword swipe because the game always thinks I'm in midair to raise myself a little bit and get into the sky.
So basically, the sword is just like your only way of navigation.
The sword is my navigation.
I'll just pause it until you get there.
So after you get a bit far down, your warframe just disappears. Just gets Thanos, and after a little while, pause. If you want to see the plains of Eladon from really far down, here you go. Normally in the plains of Eladon, you have an option to hold minus to open the advanced map, but it just doesn't exist anymore. We're gonna see what this yellow thing is. I have the option of the big map, and it's under the lake.
Oh, okay.
Okay, whatever that orange thing is, it's under the lake. And I'm finding it. And you're not stopping me, game! Okay, it's somewhere around here. We gotta keep going. Also, hold on. Okay, I have a thing on my neck. I'm gonna have to see what that's about. Okay, what? Bro.
What is this thigh?
Okay, is that thing recording at the minute?
Yeah.
Okay, so I floated all the way down to wherever that thing is. I unstuck that like really close to it, and I just went directly down from the place that unstuck returned me to. I guess that's how it works. Well, I would say 2 shakes, but 2.5 shakes. We're getting there. Also another view of the plains of Eadon from below. Okay, so yeah, my collision is just like completely disabled. I can go in water, but death zones are not loaded or whatever. Ground, of course, is not anything that I can interact with. Even with a sword slam, I just go right through it. The animation plays that I hit the ground, but I don't actually. So I'm just gonna share a couple images that we got down in some possibly unused thing that has a tower that exists in the plains of Eadon. So while I was doing the sword slam thing, the warframe reappeared and we're here. And as we keep going down, well, the plains of Eadon just completely unloaded. And if you look at the corner map, it's just gone. If we keep going down, you might recognize that tower from the plains of Eadon. just some more pictures of stuff around. Then there's that sigil, maybe, in the back. Maybe a rock formation. Not sure what that is, but a dome, skybox. Sky dome, I presume. Another sword slam found us under it. So we just approached it. It is impossible to interact with it, of course. Even if we could, collision is off. And apart from that, it's just a really odd place. We tried going back down, but the warframe disappeared, and we could see that we actually stopped moving when we were doing sword slams because the HUD did not shake. It was just still. And looking up after going all the way down and no longer being able to move, we saw that, which looks pretty cool. But apart from that, DE, I broke your game. Using a stolen Dargyn during host migrations, I broke your game. And please don't fix this, because I want to try to do this again and do cool stuff.
So try explaining like word for word exactly what happened, or did you?
Okay. So I just joined a Plans of Vietnam match, right? People were doing some fishing, some mining, stuff like that. So I decided to start hunting a Dargyn. Luckily enough, there was a Dargyn flying ahead. I don't know how it got there. It might have spawned nearby and got triggered, but nevertheless, a Dargyn was there. I was trying to shoot it down with a bow because I didn't have my bolter equipped, and I'm still a noob, so I only have the bow and the bolter. But the hosts started migrating. After the hosts finished migrating, the Dargyn and the pilot just popped down on the ground as if you just first found them and they haven't detected you yet. So I ran up, I stole the Dargyn, and then I flew all the way to the skybox so I could press start and get the chat. So I'm like, hey, I stole a Dargyn after host migrations just because it bugged, right? But as soon as I pressed start, the Dargyn just despawned. And
you were left in the air.
Because of the way that I flew up past the skybox. The game was still pushing me down, but because I was there and pressed plus, somehow the Dargyn despawned. I still wasn't getting pushed down, and I was locked into the skybox. I could still move around. It was as if I was in the air, but I was just there, right? So I was having myself a ball. The people in my party were like, "How'd you do that?" Lol, and it's like, "Alright, I've had my fun." I typed unstuck or /unstuck to put me back on the ground. I was like, okay, that was fun, that was cool. Had my screenshot, that's it. I tried to move around, and I realized that I was going into the ground because my collision has disabled, and I just run around.
And thus, this entire mess has happened.
Thus all of this, because every single bit of collision has just been removed. Now, luckily, with the sword, if you sword swipe just midair, it pushes you up a bit, so I can ascend without unstucking. Well, if I type /unstuck, then I can just start to fly, as I'll demonstrate here in a bit. It's similar to just this. You might think, oh, well, you're in the water because if you look in the mini-map, I'm in the lake. No, this just happens in the air. I started chasing another Dargyn. But apart from that, collision is just completely disabled. I cannot interact with anything because I found a couple more Dargyns. I tried to steal one of them. I killed both of the pilots, but I just could not interact with the Dargyn apart from killing it. Which, by the way, my weapons still work. I was just in the ground picking off some Tusk Grenier. But apart from that, DE, please don't fix this because I want this to be my party trick. Even if it's not genuinely mine, even if it was used by somebody else before and I don't know it, I want to go to my Gamers Guild and just show this off if I can pull it off again. And not just by this video. I want to be able to pass the controller around and interact with it. Plus, it's not like it's game breaking. This is just in the free room. Sure, you can get into caves easily. You can skip a handful of Grenier, but it's nothing necessarily broken. Well, apart from the fact that the collision is gone.
Oh, I remember the barrier?
Oh yeah. You know how you have a barrier around Cetus? That doesn't exist anymore. That collision is removed too. So I got a couple screenshots of just me floating around Cetus.
It was after.
You sure it was after?
It was after you discovered that little.
Oh, well, it looks like I'm... Oh, never mind. It's right here. Everything's just gray. But after I pass the barrier, that's Cetus. While you're not in Cetus. So I floated in. You see how the gate's just gone? They don't have gates into this version of Cetus. And everything is poorly rendered, but honestly, it's still there. So, kudos for not just having a blank space where everything should be. Everything is still there, but it's not as good. View via map, of which, for whatever reason, the advanced map was also disabled here as well. Oh, then I just started going down again and the map broke. But please don't fix this. I love this.
They're probably gonna fix it anyways.
They probably will, because who am I? But this is really fun.
At least we have video.
Yeah. But I broke your game. And it's really cool.